Why this story matters amid constant bad news, it's important to highlight examples of progress that rarely make the front page. Quick summary: this story highlights recent developments related to older people, showing how constructive action can lead to meaningful results. As soon as John Seigel-Boettner invites passengers onto his black trishaw, a three-wheeled electric bicycle with 2 extra seats up front, downtown Santa Barbara seems to smile. Pedestrians wave and call out greetings. Children stop mid-stride. With his silver mustache, a cheerful Mr. Rogers t-shirt and his favorite motto on his chest, "Believe there is good in the world," Seigel-Boettner is a familiar sight in this coastal city. He has been coordinating the local chapter of Cycling Without Age CWA since 2019. Effortlessly charming and still ferociously fit at 70 years old, he gives rides at least twice a week. Though the people who ride up front don't pedal, he doesn't call them passengers but riding partners to emphasize the program's spirit of companionship. Cycling Without Age is about connection, Seigel-Boettner says. It's about the conversations between pilot and partner and the connection with everyone we meet along the way. Would you like to read more good news about older people, bicycles, whole person health, aging, health, and elder care? John Seigel-Boettner, a lifelong cyclist out on the road with a riding partner. Courtesy of Sea-Wasp on this particular morning, his front seat companion is 97-year-old Elizabeth Wright, a spry and witty resident of the local senior home who has been riding with him for many years. "My name means I'm always right," she says as she introduces herself. Winding past palm trees through a leafy neighborhood and out toward the beach, she waits to her favorite street musician and recalls moments from her long life as a caregiver, activity coordinator, poet, and writer. "This is where I bartended," she says with a broad grin, pointing to a coastal pub, and tugs her blanket close in the morning breeze, her thin hands knotted with age. Illusion glints ahead. For a moment she seems to fold into her younger self. CWA was born in Copenhagen in 2012, when Danish management consultant Orkasa borrowed a rickshaw on a whim and offered an elderly gentleman from a care home a ride. Kassa had watched his father, who lived with multiple sclerosis, grow increasingly isolated. As his formerly extrovert father's world shrank, so too did his sense of connection. When Kassa later worked in a care home, he saw a lot of the same issues his dad had been struggling with. Elderly people come into a nursing home, Kassa says, and their world gets smaller and smaller and smaller, until they just sit inside within their four walls. From that one act of kindness, a movement spread, first across Denmark and then across the world. Today, the non-profit CWA spans more than 3,600 chapters and 50,000 volunteers in 41 countries, including in 25 US states. It works in bike-friendly Copenhagen as well as in New York City. Each chapter operates somewhat differently according to local needs, but all share 5 guiding principles: generosity, slowness, storytelling, relationships without age. A visually impaired passenger called the initiative the right to wind in your hair. The trishaws cost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 each, some modified to fit wheelchairs. When you consider the impact of one trishaw and think about how much money people otherwise spend on elder care, beds and wheelchairs and whatnot, it's actually not a lot, Kassa points out. He calls each ride a bubble when magic happens. Some chapters operate with support from their municipal communities, but most depend entirely on local fundraising and volunteers. While anybody can ride for free, CWA prioritizes riders with limited mobility. Seigel-Boettner's youngest rider was a 5-year-old boy on a feeding tube who wanted to ride to school with his friends. "We provided that," he says, and it made him very happy. Seigel-Boettner loves cycling so much that he spent his honeymoon cycling with his wife, and he pedaled his newborn sons home from the hospital. He used to be a middle school teacher and took his students on long bike rides across the country. At least once a week, he still pairs a middle schooler with a senior for a ride on a trishaw to spark conversations across generations that wouldn't otherwise happen. They talk about life, music, what's changed. The bike isn't the end, the bike is the means to see the world from the riding partner's perspective. Now he doesn't consider himself retired, but wired for new experiences. While people might think he's feeding his karma bank by doing something good, he explains, "I come back from each ride completely changed. Society is missing a bridge between older people and everyone else, and this," he says, tapping the trishaw frame, "is that bridge." Sometimes his riders have lost their ability to speak at all. When Seigel-Boettner rides with someone experiencing memory loss, the words might fade away, but not the emotional resonance. The vibrations, the breeze watching the passing world together become their shared language. They see a flower, or the ocean, or a bird, and suddenly a memory surfaces, Seigel-Boettner says. Today, CWA spans more than 3,600 chapters and 50,000 volunteers in 40 countries. Photo courtesy of Sea-Wasp. CWA is much more than a lovely idea. A 2020 study found that participants experience measurable improvements in mood and well-being after rides. In Canada, a 12-week observational study of long-term care residents showed that cycling significantly increased immediate happiness and maintained overall quality of life without causing fatigue or pain. Another evaluation in Scotland of a pilot program linked CWA rides with reductions in social isolation and noted benefits for both residents and volunteers. The most comprehensive evidence comes from the When Movement Moves study, a 3-year multi-method evaluation by the National Institute of Public Health and University of Southern Denmark. Researchers measured a striking shift in